Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. It's team news time as we look ahead to Fantasy Premier League Game Week 17. My name is Joe and as ever I'm joined by Fantasy Football Scout's editor Neale to go over all the latest developments in today's and yesterday's press conferences. Neale, welcome. How are you?
I'm all right, Joe, yeah. I'm not too bad.
Yeah.
I think I've got 19 lots of team news for you, so there's just one missing and that is your lot. Right.
Ah, yes. I think there were some hints though
Yes.
overnight, so we should be able to get some kind of idea of the team sheet as best as we can with Brighton, and also just as we were chatting just before, an update from Villa's camp came in as well, so we'll address that as it is. Welcome to those joining us in the live chat. Lots of you, almost 200 of you so far catching us early. I know that does rise as we go on. Welcome to G Wiz as ever, who is on please press like and please subscribe duties, so do as he says, everyone. Tom Johnson, referee Rick, FPL Alexander Arnold, Tim, Rahul, Chris, Mark, JM, Tim, Tom, and Dragon Lottie, and loads more joining as I'm talking as well. Karen and Soldier Boy and many more. Welcome. Do put in the live chat where you're joining us from as well. I always like to see where we are from around the world. Just before we look at the first team, which is tonight's deadline, it's Nottingham Forest against Tottenham tonight. But I just wanted to remind people to head over to fantasyfootballscout.co.uk and to have a look at our members area. We've got a 7-day free trial there, and you can save 20% as well. So you can construct your own tables, look at comparison tools, rate my team. All of those good stuff is there. Okay, let's move on. Tonight's game, Nottingham Forest against Spurs. What is the latest from Cooper?
Well, this is one of 7 press conferences that were held yesterday, obviously with the match being held tonight. It's pretty quiet on the team news front for Forest. They're going to have an assessment of Murillo and Aurier as well, who had been ruled out for a couple of weeks, but now can be slightly ahead of schedule. So yeah, they will be assessed. Awani is, of course, still out. But I think that is it. They've had a history of having long injury lists, but I think this time they've whittled it down to just a few.
Okay, is it quite short from Spurs as well? What's the update there?
A lengthy injury list, but a fairly short update in that there's nothing majorly new. The Celso is the only new addition who probably wouldn't have played anyway. Muscle problem for him. Everyone else, from Madison to Van der Ven to Bentancur, I mean, there's a 9-strong list. They're not expected back before the new year. So I want to see them for Game Week 21.
Righty-o. Before we move on to the next one, people have answered my request to say where you're tuning in from. We've got London, Helsinki, Oxford, South Africa, Mexico City, Hong Kong, Canada, another from South Africa, Cambridge, USA, India, Thailand. Tim is in Neil's neck of the woods, Tyneside, and Karen is from Northampton. And JM Moore is from Wales. There, he refers to Wales as something else. There, so but I won't repeat that because it's political. So okay, next one, Bournemouth against Luton. What's the latest from Bournemouth?
Yeah, I'm having to flip between screens because there was 7 yesterday and there was 12 today. So yeah, this was today. Again, nothing new. So no one expected back, and no one injured. So no new concerns from last week. It'll probably be the same team again. He's been keeping a very settled side.
Okay.
So that's still Traore, Aaron Scott, Kelly, Adams, Fredericks, and Mark Andre's out.
Rightio. And as for Luton as well, not so marvellous in midfield.
Oh, he's banned for this one. He's picked up 5 yellow cards. They will get Caboria back, though. He was ineligible to play last weekend against Man City. They've also got back Osho and Ogbeni as well, who were missing against Man City. So that just leaves 3 on the injury list. And even then, Woodrow is back in training. Won't be risked for this one, but we'll be back the following week.
Okay. More joining us in the live chat. Botswana, Singapore, Norway, Saudi Arabia, Glasgow, Boston, Leeds as well. And the British Boston. No, actually, people are wondering, is it the British Boston or the perhaps more exciting US version? Okay, Chelsea against Sheffield United. Now, Chelsea, they have got some news, haven't they?
Yeah, this is an update and a half, this one, after the slow intro. 3 new red flags. And those were the 3 players who came off last weekend against Everton. So no surprises there. Reece James, definitely no surprise there. Cucurella and Robert Sanchez, they're all being assessed still in terms of time frames, but they're definitely going to miss this one. I've seen talk of 3 months for James.
Okay.
But Pochettino was talking in terms of weeks, I think, for Sanchez. So,
okay.
But again, no exact time frame. That'll probably rule them all out of the Christmas schedule. Ogachukwu, Chilwell, Fofana, Chalobah, Chukwuemeka all still out. Madueke's progressing with his reconditioning phase, which means match fitness. Good news, though, in that we might see Nkunku in the Premier League for the very first time this weekend. Wow. He's going to be in the squad, probably not from the start, but he'll be involved. Gusto's back in full training as well, so he could come in for James, perhaps. And then Lavia is just a little bit behind them. He's only partly in training, so he's probably not going to be able to do this one. But they've lost 3, and then they've got 3 back on the training ground. And one of them, Nkunku, we'll probably see against Sheffield United.
Okay, so who replaces Sanchez? Just remind.
Is it Petrovic? I think his name is. Pochettino was pretty much confirming he's going to start this weekend. Has got no Premier League experience, I don't think. He came from the US. But, yeah.
So there's 2 ways of looking at that. We've got another cheap goalkeeper in the mix. Also, perhaps Chelsea's defence is to be avoided now regarding clean sheets. So time will tell.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, I mean, it's the rotation of the defence as much as anything else. Even though they've got that long injury list, I mean, we saw Thiago and Zubadia Shield benched last weekend. I think this probably firms up Colwell's minutes for a while because if Cucurella and Chilwell are out, there's not many alternatives at left back.
Okay.
So maybe he is the slightly best bet, I think.
Yep, certainly. I think if I was going for a Chelsea defender, I'd go for him. Sheffield United, what's the latest there?
Yes, Sheffield United. That was yesterday as well. Let's see what we've got. Oh, they've got McBurney and Norwood back from suspension.
Okay.
They've got Baldock back as well from an injury and Osborne.
Okay. So
there's 4 back, 1 out though, and that is Jack Robinson, who's suspended. So I think that just leaves the longer term ones on the sidelines, and that is Basham, Davies, Egan, and Jefferson.
Okay.
Norton, Davies, and Brewster are back in training, but they're very much not match fit.
Okay. Before we go to the main draw, which is the City Crystal Palace game, because there's a certain striker we want news on, just to say that we have representation from Namibia, Sweden, and Israel and Bangladesh as well as Bristol and Luton and Lithuania. Okay, let's move to the main draw. Man City, Erling Haaland, what is the latest? We're all on tenterhooks.
A strangely clear-cut update from Pep.
Okay.
We got something from him, and it doesn't look good in terms of his starting prospects this weekend or even off the bench. So I'll tell you what Pep said in its entirety. He said he's going to arrive today, and the doctors are going to see him. He's been in treatment for this stress injury on his foot. Now, he's talking now in terms of travelling to Saudi Arabia, so they're hoping to get him playing the first game, if not the second game. He was then asked about Palace, this is Pep, and he said, I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe surprisingly they'll tell me something new, but I don't think so.
Okay.
So he's now been downgraded to 25% flag on the FPL. Okay. So I would not count on any minutes from him this weekend.
No. So if you've got a good first sub, then you're okay. But he is missing game week 18 as well. So if you are a bit light on your bench, it is very tempting to take him out. But you might want him back in game week 19. That is the decision that all us FPL managers must face each week, these types of decisions. Myself, I'm going to be keeping him and benching him for a couple of weeks. But I might end up having to transfer him out in game week 18. And yourself, are you going to be taking him out?
I'm keeping him, yeah. I've got Lascelles first, so which is fine. It's all right for this weekend, home to Fulham. Yeah. I'm not expecting a clean sheet, but it's I'm fine. I've already made a transfer anyway this week, so I'll be keeping him. And then, much like yourself, reassessing it in game week 18.
Same with me. Solanke, I've got him for Archer. And the reason I'm saying this now is just because we got the deadline tonight and people like to know these things. I think I'd want him back game week 19. And I've got a Dingra, who is the bionic man, as my first sub. So he will definitely come on because he's bionic.
Started again last night, didn't he? Yeah.
He did, but he came off at the 64th minute, which
he did.
Which bizarrely bodes well for a start again this weekend. Crystal Palace, what's the latest there?
Yeah, mixed bag from Hodgson. Mitchell's fine. He's come back from a hip injury. Henderson's back in training, actually. And Azir, I think, was implied as well. But Hodgson did say that it's probably too early for Henderson to play. He then said we may have been obliged to ask him to play. But the medical department would like him to have some more time. So it's still a bit up in the air, that one. And he
Okay.
said the same with Eze. So they're both 50% flag. Elsewhere, though, it's pretty bad news. So Johnston, Lerma, and Edward all injured last
Yeah.
weekend,
Yeah.
all out. No time frames yet. Decoria, Holden, Raksaki, Nathan Ferguson, of course, all injured as
Obviously.
well. Jordan Ayew's banned from yellow card accumulation as well. So they're down to the bare bones. As Hodgson said, he's got 11 players and then probably no more on the bench. So yeah, good time for City to play them.
Rightio. Okay. Not if you only play as Haaland though, because
No.
he won't play. Newcastle, your side against Fulham. Now Newcastle have got a whole bunch of injury problems of their own, but they might be easing. What's the latest?
I'll just quickly cover the rest of City, by the way.
Oh, sorry, there's more from City. Sorry,
well, that's the thing. There isn't. There
Oh.
was no update on Doku. There was no update on Grealish, who seemed to take a bang to the hip and came off at half time, but there was no report of any injury. Doku was ruled out for 1 to 2 weeks last week, so I think again 50% on FPL.
Okay.
De Bruyne definitely not. He might not even make that FIFA World Club Cup. We might get more tonight, of course, but that's useless for FPL because that's after the deadline. Newcastle, yes. Gordon is going to be assessed in training, so not much help from Howe. I didn't think he would be because he hadn't seen him train yet. He did say that he's usually a quick recoverer of different things.
Okay.
And then the player himself was positive in midweek, so slightly positive noises. They're going to assess him in training today. The one thing is, of course, Newcastle's got a cup quarter final on Tuesday against Chelsea, so they might not risk him. Trippier's banned. He had a couple knocks anyway against Milan, so he'll not feature this weekend. They've got Wilson Longstaff burned back this week. Dubravka's fine as well after illness.
Okay.
That leaves Tonali out, Mankiewicz, Barnes, Willock, Botman, Murphy, Anderson, and Target. Now, I'll put a disclaimer next to Botman because he's not 100% out. I've seen Craig Hope from the Daily Mail suggesting he's got an outside chance of being on the bench this weekend. So Lascelles owners, be very afraid for game week 18. Barnes and Willock, so this is good news for Gordon. Barnes has had a slight setback with his toe, and he is probably not going to feature this side of January. So that's game week 21 at the earliest for him.
Okay.
So yeah, Botman, I think, and Anderson are the two I believe are the closest to being back.
Okay. A resurgent Fulham. I'm not sure they're going to score another 5 goals against the team. No, you hope not. But nevertheless, in great form at the moment. What shape are Fulham in for this?
Pretty good, yes. Reams joined the injury lists. He lost his place anyway. He's got a calf injury. And Adama Traore is back in training, but hasn't been. Is not ready for this one yet. It's pretty good elsewhere, though. Everyone else, according to Silva, is fit. So that includes Issa Diop, who's going to be on the bench. And Willian has trained as well. He came off last weekend with a minor hamstring thing, but he has trained on Thursday, so we think he's going to be fine as well.
Okay. Moving on to Burnley against Everton. Burnley, another suspension for a player that we perhaps might have relied on in a number of teams. Charlie Taylor, suspended for this one, isn't he?
He is, so at least he'll be back for game week 18 when you might need him even more. So yeah, it's just a one-match ban for yellow card accumulation. Kolyoshu's out, as we know, for the rest of the season, probably, or much of it. Ramsey's touch and go came off last weekend. Obafemi has been absent for the last couple of weeks with a minor-ish injury. Sounds like they'll both miss out. No update on Cullen and Cork, who again are backups. Foster, who isn't a backup, he's very much first choice striker when he's fit. He's making progress, so he's working on his physical condition now. So that sounds like he's starting to get back towards preparing to come back. But company doesn't envisage him going to the African Cup of Nations in January. I don't think that's necessarily means he'll be out until then. I just think he doesn't want him away for that long, given the struggles with mental health.
Rightio. Okay. And as for Everton as well, more suspensions there.
Indeed, yeah. And another budget defender who's been performing very well of late, that's Brentford. He's out. So is Garner Gay as well. They're both, again, 50 other cards, one-match bans. Both the veteran right-backs are out. So that's Coleman and Young, just minor niggles, but enough to keep them out of this one. So in comes Patterson, you think. Dele Alli still out. Gomez is playing for the under-21s tonight, so just building up his match fitness. Keane and Mikalenko should be fit. You might have seen a flag on Mikalenko, who again is picking up bonus. He's got a very good record of late in great form. He's had a bit of a niggle as Mikalenko, but Dice said he thinks he's going to be okay. Keane missed last weekend, has been back in training, and he's one of the candidates to replace Brentford.
Okay. Right, meanwhile, Arsenal against Brighton. So we hinted at some of that Brighton news. But let's go with earlier. But let's go with Arsenal first. Martinelli was ill during the week, I think. Is he okay now?
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah, Arteta said he's feeling good, and then just said when asked if he's available. Okay. So sounds all right. They've lost El Nani, who of course wouldn't have played anywhere. He had a minor hamstring injury against PSV. He'll be out of this one, but not sidelined for long. Mm-hmm. So they're still missing Tomiyasu, Vieira, Partey, and Timber.
Okay, and Smith Rowe as well.
Oh yeah, he's back. Yeah, he was on the bench for that PSV game, and I think he came on, but he was certainly involved in the squad anyway.
Yeah, I imagine he'll get more minutes over Christmas with a rotation as that kicks in over that period. As for Brighton, there was no press conference today, but we did get some sort of hints from De Zerbi about his thinking for this game.
Yeah, well, you can see if you've seen anything more than I have, Joe. But earlier in the week, he did say that Welbeck was going to be probably on the bench for this one. Mm-hmm. Wasn't involved last night. And Ciso, Estupiñán, Fatty, Lamptey, March, Webster, we think are all still out, I believe. Mm-hmm. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yep. He'd also said about players that needed the minutes managed or careful game time management. So Mitoma, Milner, Lallana, and Buonanotte were the four he name checked. This was in his pre-match presser on Wednesday.
Yep.
So yeah, no guarantees. I mean, Mitoma started last night, I believe, didn't he? And Lallana didn't. But so I've not yet to do the lineup, but once I've assessed who played last night, then it'll be easier to.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah,
I think who's going to start.
I think Adingra came off for the 64th minute. Considering he's going to AFCON, it may be. And Buonanotte played virtually the whole game, I think. I can't see. I think Adingra will play. If Mitoma doesn't play, Adingra will play on the left. If Mitoma does play, Adingra could play on the right. In which case, you would imagine Ferguson will be up front because he was rested last night. So I think it'll be Ferguson, Lallana in a more attacking midfield role, and one of Mitoma, Adingra. But if Mitoma doesn't play, I don't know, possibly Buonanotte. I mean, they're getting down to bare bones. A bit like when we were reading out Chelsea's injured list, Brighton have got quite a lengthy injured list as well. So they just run out of bodies, basically, which is why I think they will play. Had a super chat question about sell Haaland for Watkins or Solanke. That's a standard question, I think, for this week. It's going to be team dependent. If you haven't got a bench and you're looking a bit light for game week 18, then it's possible that could be an advantageous move. And Watkins and Solanke would be the main ones to get, I would say, there if you don't already own them. But if you've got an okay bench and you can get to Watkins and Solanke over the next week or two, then Haaland could stay. But it's going to be team dependent. Depends how much you trust your bench. Okay, let's move on to Brentford against Aston Villa. Brentford, what's the latest?
But an update on Mbeumo, who's of course red flagged anyway, but he's going to be red flagged for a long time now. He's going to be out for 12 weeks. He's going to have an operation today on his ankle. So that will, of course, make him miss the African Cup of Nations with Cameroon. So looking at March return for him.
Okay.
They won't risk Matthias Jensen this weekend. He was close to recovery, but they're not going to feature. So it'll be game week 19 because they're blank as well next week. Collins is back in training though, so he could come into contention. They're still without, on top of Mbeumo and Jensen, Hickey, Sharda, Henry, De Silva, Tony, and Ayer as well.
Okay, and as for Aston Villa, prior to post what we just put up on the screen here, there has been a bit more of an update from Emery. So what is the latest from Villa?
Off the press, this was just before I came on air. So we know that Luis and Digne are banned because of yellow card accumulation. Mings, Buendia, Olsen and Traore are all out. The main FPL investors in Tielemans and Bailey especially. So now they're both classed as doubts by Emery. He didn't give us anything more than that.
Okay.
Last weekend, after Bailey came off, I think he came off at half-time, he said that Bailey was completely tired, but then said, I don't know if there's an injury or not as well. So I don't think he was seen in training this week.
Okay.
And he wasn't involved last night. in that Conference League game. Neither was Tielemans. So obviously slight doubts there about his condition, but no details on the injury itself. Just that there's now a flag on.
Okay, they play Sunday though, don't they? So
They do. Yeah.
That could mean if they were playing Saturday, then I would say that would make them more doubtful. But perhaps Sunday, you never know. So they're definitely not totally out. They could play. Okay, let's move on to West Ham against Wolves, another team that did well in Europe. So Brighton, Villa, West Ham. It's the Europa League, and the conference. So these teams are doing well. West Ham, what is the latest there, particularly with their goalkeeper?
Yeah, Areola's back in. Well, he's not just back in training. He was in the matchday squad last week. He was on the bench. I wouldn't read too much into that because he has been benched in all but one of the Europa League group games this season. It's much like a lot of clubs do this. They have a cup goalkeeper, who's been Fabianski, and they have a league goalkeeper. So every chance that Areola's back between the posts this weekend. Antonio, we think, is still out. He's been out for a while. The one new doubt from last night is not someone who will concern anybody from an FPL perspective. Alvarez took a knock to the hip and will be assessed. But apart from that, I think a fairly clean bill of health.
Okay, and as for Wolves, Aït-Nouri could be back.
He might, yeah. He was due back last week, but just had his return slightly delayed. He has returned to training, and O'Neil said he should be involved this weekend. Who else have we got? Neto is still out, but he could be back in Gameweek 18. They're targeting that Christmas Eve game against Chelsea.
Wow.
It's still touch and go for that one. O'Neil said if he doesn't make it, it doesn't mean that he's had a setback. It just means that they're being extra careful.
Okay.
So he's his red flag will soon to an orange. Hodge and Johnny Otto are still out. Johnny's, of course, a disciplinary thing and won't be considered before the end of January.
Just reminded people that Neto was an absolute assist machine before he got injured. So that if he is back game week 18, that does bode well for Kuna and Hwang and the other attackers there, because more assists means more goals. Liverpool against Manchester United. This is the big Sunday game. Everyone is anticipating an absolute mauling because Liverpool frequently do that home to Manchester United. You never know. Our Liverpool. I noticed there were some benchings midweek. Not benchings, rather. So certain players didn't travel midweek for Liverpool, which bodes well for starts, I would imagine. But what is the latest from Liverpool?
Yeah, so Salah was amongst this group. Same with Alisson and I think Van Dijk as well.
Yeah,
they weren't risked for Thursday's dead rubber. There wasn't much team use today in the pre-match pressure, which I think was recorded yesterday. McAllister, though, we do know is out, so he took a nasty sort of stamp on the knee kind of thing. When was it? Game week 15 or 16, and he's not going to recover for this one. And being careful with the wound, making sure it doesn't get affected. Robertson, Bajcetic, Alcantara, Jota, and Matip, they're all out. We weren't aware of anything new, but the only players I think who kept their places on Thursday, there was only two.
Yeah,
and I can't remember who it was, but it wasn't anybody of significance. Darwin was benched, for example. He was rested. Same with Diaz. Same with Tsimikas. Salah didn't travel. Van Dijk didn't travel. Alisson didn't travel. So all the big guns were rested last night.
Okay. Now, Manchester United, they're going to need everyone fit and available for this one, but do they?
No, they have got some players back who we thought might be out, one of whom is Luke Shaw. So he came off against Bayern on Tuesday with a hamstring injury, but he's fine. It sounds like he's fine. He's returned to training already. Expect to be available. Rashford's recovered from illness as well, so he comes back into the squad. But they have lost Bruno Fernandes to suspension. Martial's still ill, so won't be involved. And Maguire has joined the injury list as well. He came off with a groin injury against Bayern. Not going to be out for too long, but definitely keep him out of this one. Lindelof's been missing for the last two in League and Cup. No word on him. Sancho, Casemiro, Malacia, Martinez, Mount, Ericsson, all out, according to the website anyway. And Ahmed Diallo's back in training, but I think still working on his match fitness. So quite a decimated squad, but they at least get back Rashford and probably Shaw as well.
Okay, right, yeah. Okay, I've got the roundup of most of those. So, yeah, fit to play. And Nkunku could be playing. Gusto as well could be filling in on that on the fullback there for Reece James. Areola was on the bench this week, so that means that you would imagine he's fit to play. Whether he starts or not is another matter, but you would imagine if he is the league goalkeeper still, then he will start. Willian is actually okay for Fulham. Rashford and Shaw are fine for Manchester United. Martinelli's overcome illness. And Smith Rowe is available as well. Mitchell, there was injury doubts over him at Palace, but he is fine. So bench is looking a bit better for a number of FPL teams, I imagine. Questionable, though. Alvarez at West Ham with a knock. Gordon's hamstring could keep him out, but might not. So it remains to be seen there. Murillo and Aurier have got problems at Nottingham Forest. Nori could be back. At least if not this week, maybe next week. Overcome that ankle problem. Mikalenko, fitness problems might rule him out, and Dean Henderson might have to be called on because for in goal for Crystal Palace, despite the medical team not quite keen on him playing. Major doubt, Haaland foot. That is the sort of headline news there. Very, very unlikely he will play, and he misses game week 18 as well. So fancy Premier League managers will be facing a tough choice, and you've only got a few hours to make that decision because the deadline is coming up at 6:30. Out definitely. Chelsea top the bill here. Sanchez knee problems. He's out for a few weeks. Cucurella ankle. James out for a number of weeks. Many weeks for a hamstring. Trippier suspended. Charlie Taylor suspended. Tim Ream's got calf problems. Celso's not going to make it with a knock. Branthwaite, another cheap midfielder, he's not available. Suspended. Luke Dean, lots of suspensions. It's that time of year. Luca Dean and Douglas Luiz both suspended for Villa. Marvellous Nakamba for Luton as well is going to be absent through suspension. Meanwhile, Harry Maguire's not going to make it. Got injury there for Manchester United. Edouard and Johnston got knee and calf problems respectively at Palace. Going to rule them out. And there are doubts over Tielemans and Bailey as well. That news came in just before we came on air as well. So didn't have time to include those in the roundup. I think we've got most things there. Some tough decisions. I'll let the managers go to come to come up with their decisions, what they're going to do if they haven't made any moves already. Neil, thanks a lot for joining me. See you again next
Thursday. Or Wednesday. Yeah, Thursday deadline. So we'll probably do one on the day itself.
Brighton, I think, against Palace on the Thursday. So the deadline is next Thursday for Game Week 18 is next Thursday. So it's a bit of a heads up there. So yeah, we'll be back then.
We will, probably with a very short video because we will have heard from probably about 4 managers and no more.
Yes, yeah. So
by the deadline.
What we'll try and do is a bit of guesswork. We'll try and glean as much as we can for that one. So we'll do our best. Good luck, everyone, and we'll see you again next week. Cheers. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.